this program was suggested by a teacher at school. So honestly, I don't have any information, and I need to ask a lot of questions. Like, for example, I need to know how many days he's going to stay with you, and during each period of times, or the interval between the times, because this has to be obviously discussed with this school as well, and with this teacher. So because he's now already studying 5 subjects, so I'm afraid that it could be some way too much. So I want to get him the perfect conditions for him to develop all the skills at the same time.
Yeah.
Other question that I have is, do I have to pay anything, and how much? I need to be prepared for that. I'm sorry, but because we are simple, normal people, I need to be prepared. And well, I think for now is this.
Yeah, let's should we just, I'll do the second question first, if that's okay, because it's a really simple, straightforward answer, which is there is no cost for this program. We will not ever be asking you to pay for your student to progress through the program. And if there's a time when hopefully we can get back to some on-campus events or on-campus teaching, we allow every participant to claim back the cost of any travel. So we actually have a travel bursary, which means if they get public transport and they keep a receipt, we'll pay back that cost. Or if you're driving them or they're driving themselves in, then we'll pay back the petrol cost. So that's one of the kind of key elements of the programme. We don't want it to cost you any money at all. So it's completely free, no financial commitment at all. So that was a really good question. I'm not sure we always underline that as much as we should. It's a free programme.
And sorry, just one more thing that now occurs me. I would also like to ask you if there is, by chance, like if he does well with you, it's easier this way to access to your university. How this gives him like opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess let's do your kind of first question and then come into the next part, because it will naturally progress. That's okay. So to go back to your first question about time commitment and a concern perhaps around it being a lot on top of A levels or other school commitments. What we say with our programme, and this year we've been able to be even more flexible than usual with online offering, is that we try and do a range of holding sessions across holiday time, after school time, as well as in school time. So where there are sessions where we want students to miss perhaps a couple of hours of school, we always encourage them to get those absences authorised by their teacher in good time. So we liaise with schools all the way through, and as you said, your young person was recommended this programme by a teacher. So teachers do see the value, and as long as they're told if absences are going to happen, then they will kind of support if they see the value in the programme in giving students an insight into higher education and skills around a subject that they're interested in. So to reassure you, that time commitment's not huge at all. So it will only be through year 12 that we're asking them to do the sub-sessions, because we know year 13 is, A levels exams, the final part. So the time commitment's only a few hours. It depends on what subject they're doing. And you can see, if you go to our Exeter Scholars website, you can find the subject strands on there, and you can have a look at the different sessions that are running. But they're usually just a few hours, 2 or 3 hours at a time. There's not more than 6 scheduled throughout year 12 for the sessions this year. So it's not a massive time commitment. And if students can't make a particular session because there's something in school that they can't miss, then there are ways that they can make up time. So there are online alternatives that they could be doing in the evening or weekends, so that they're not missing too much school time if it's not needed. Mel, is there anything you wanted to add on the time commitment I've missed? Or is that pretty thorough?
Well, I also like to know when it starts. I forgot that is an important question also.
Yeah, so the programme's begun, and there was a launch event back in January, and then I think nearly all of the strands have had a first session, because they ran throughout February, and we're now very near the end. So I wanted to hold this parent carer session tonight, so that your students would have had their first introductory subject session. And if they had any or fed back anything at all that they wanted you to ask on their behalf, then you could do that now. So they will have already started. But if you're worried because your young person's missed that session,
I'm sorry, I'm looking to my son now. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Checking whether he's
because he doesn't know anything about it. So
okay. So we should. Well, I guess we keep in touch via emails, and you would have had the invite to the launch event in January, and then the subject leader would have emailed around a week before the subject session to remind that those are happening. So I'd say if you're not receiving emails, please check all junk, spam folders in case emails are being directed there and you're missing them. That's a good tip.
yes,
Make
because
sure you
the only email that I receive it's from Exeter scholars. I don't receive.
You haven't seen any.
I didn't until so far anything, and my son is telling me that it doesn't either. So
that's right.
well,
So
we will solve that problem straight away tomorrow. We will solve that problem.
Yeah, okay. And then I'm trying to remember what I think your third question was around benefits of the programme and whether it gets them kind of extra consideration for the University of Exeter. And the answer is yes. And I'd say definitely have a look under the benefits tab on the website because that explains all the individual benefits. But the main one is that if your young person completes the time commitment for the programme, then they'll automatically be offered a reduced grade offer for the University of Exeter, which means that we lower the entry requirements for any standard from a standard course requirement by 2 A-level grades or equivalent lower. So that gives students that kind of safety net at exam time, that they could, it perhaps takes the stress off, and it gives them that opportunity to come to the University of Exeter. The other benefits then, if they do progress to us and they're a senior scholar, there are some other benefits such as some financial support for settling in, access to scholarships, some transition and induction support when they're here. So lots and lots of support available, and definitely a reduced offer for any student that completes the time commitment and wants to apply to Exeter. So that's a key benefit of the programme.
Thank you so much for your help. You help a lot. I don't have any more questions. Do you mind if I go?
Of course, no, it's a drop in and drop out session, so please do. Okay. And that's the same for anyone else. If you need to drop out, that's absolutely fine. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Right, so I've got a question, Mel. I might read this one out to you because it's come to me privately. So I'll read it on behalf of this parent, if that's okay. So thanks for hosting tonight. My son is on the medicine pathway. Will there be help with everything to do with UCAT, both applying and studying for it? Thanks.
Yeah, happy to take that one. Yeah, absolutely, there will be. So a core part of the content for the medicine subject activity strand is not just giving exposure to kind of sample lectures, introduction to problem-based learning, which is the way that we teach our BMBS programme, our Bachelor of Medicine, Bachelor of Surgery programme. But it also focuses around support for the application process. So we know, and the team know, that applying for medicine can be quite a complex process. It depends which university you're applying for, different admissions tests, different approaches to interviews. So yeah, absolutely, support through the admissions process is a key part of what students will cover. I should also reassure for anybody who's participants applied for the medicine strand and perhaps didn't get a place on there because it was very popular subject activity strand. If they're still looking at applying to study medicine down the line, then we also run a year 13 interview preparation workshop or series of workshops that gives that support to students on any other subject activity strand as well. Whether they're applying to medicine or whether they're applying to any other subject that requires an interview as a part of the application process. So that support will be there more broadly than just the medicine subject activity strand as well.
Great. Yeah, I hope that answers your question, but if you've got follow-up ones, and again, you'd rather use the chat, please drop them in the chat. It's absolutely fine. If I take the next question that I can see in the chat, my son is on the business strand, which is located in Cornwall in July. Will this be a whole day, as we would need to travel from Dorset? So yeah, I've just had a quick look at the website, and I can see we're currently planning that you'll be able to have a face-to-face session June, July time. So yes, it will be hopefully going ahead on campus. They're usually around 3 to 4 hours in length, so it won't be like an entire school day. And we are aware with our Cornwall campus that it's that bit further for some people who live at Devon or further, and Dorset definitely. So we'll allow enough time for you to travel down, but if that's impossible for any reason, and that travel's, you're not comfortable with it, it's not possible to do, then there'll be another way that you can make up for that session. So please don't worry if travel is something that's not possible for you, or you're a young person at this time. We will allow time to be made up in other ways, so you can still make the time commitment and pass. But it's a great opportunity to come and visit a campus. So we're really, really hoping to be able to do that in the summer, so that you'll get a chance for your young person to come and explore one of the University of Exeter campuses and get a feel for that, kind of a key element of the programme. I hope that answers. If you've got worries nearer to the time about travel and face-to-face sessions, we're always available on email to discuss cases, and we'll have more information hopefully in June once we see what happens. Great, there are more questions in the chat. So Mel, you could probably do this one if that's okay, about my son is on the geography and environmental science strand. He really enjoyed his first session last Tuesday. That's really good to hear. It's really interesting. He loved it. That's great. For future sessions, how many are likely to be online and how many in person? Do we know yet?
I wish I could give a definitive answer. Yeah. Essentially, what we've made a decision to do as a project team is to make some choices now that we know there may be potential to change further down the line, but actually we really want to provide some stability for participants. So we will be delivering everything up until June online. So all subject sessions will be virtual, even if the regulation changes. We may be able to offer some extra sessions in there if the regulations change massively, but I think it's probably unlikely given the government announcement earlier in the week. We're hoping that, as Hayley's just said, we can have a face-to-face session in June or July for all subject strands. We were originally going June. Again, kind of given the roadmap that was announced on Monday, if the 21st of June looks like it's feasible to release social distancing, we might push those sessions slightly later to allow students to have the best experience possible. But we'll keep that under review. Well, as we all know in this session, we're not quite sure how much of that roadmap will actually play out as it's been suggested so far. Like Hayley said, being able to give a face-to-face and a physical experience of our campuses is such a core part of Scholars. So we're really, really hoping we can get students at least once onto at least one of the campuses. But we will we'll keep you up to date as and when we can give you more information.
Thank you.
Oh, was that your question?
Thanks for your patience.
No, I figured it was probably a difficult question, and probably, but obviously it would be really nice if we could come and meet and everything. He would really love that. It would be great to meet everyone else as well. And, and thanks for the session, because that was really cool. He's really loved it.
That's good. And that's only session one.
I should add
loads more. Great.
And it's worth adding actually that even if there aren't even if we can't build the face-to-face into the Exeter Scholars sessions, we do encourage students and give opportunity for students to take part in activities beyond the Scholars programme that may well be on campus. So, even down to kind of receptions at open days, if we've got open days back up and running by September. Again, still a bit of a TBC, but there may well be opportunities that we can open up beyond the Scholars core programme that do give you that chance to visit a campus as well.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question I can probably take, it was in the chat. Whilst Exeter offers the reduction on the grade for completing the programme, could we get a further reduction if you complete an EPQ as well? Sadly not. It's not something that the University of Exeter kind of award almost when they make decisions on admissions. So we won't be able to do that. So it's good that you're aware at this stage. That grade reduction won't apply to EPQ. That won't make any difference. It's just on A levels or equivalent. So BTECs, International Baccalaureate, any of those equivalent qualifications, your young person would still get the 2 grade entry reduction, but sadly not for the EPQ. Okay, next one. This is one Mel might want to do. Our daughter has decided and received a different strand, which was creative writing, other than the actual subject she's likely to want to study, which is psychology. Will the grade reduction still stand? And could we explain more about the scholarships we mentioned? Yeah. So shall I? Well, do you want to jump in, Mel? Or?
I'm happy to. I was just going to add a little bit extra to the EPQ question as well, if that's all right. In the so for those that aren't aware, the EPQ is the extended project qualification, and it's an extra qualification that some students will be offered by some schools. It's not something that's always available as a kind of blanket approach in schools. And it looks at kind of an independent way of working that's quite close to the kind of way in which students would be working when they get to university. So whilst doing the EPQ doesn't necessarily count towards the entry requirements for any of the university's course, there is still a lot of value if students do have the opportunity and the time to do it alongside A-levels or other qualifications, because it does help with that preparedness for the transition to higher education. I should also add that we do keep admissions processes under review. So as it stands, the EPQ isn't recognised in offers, but if there are any changes to that when it gets to the point of applying for the students that have obviously just joined us, then we'll keep you up to date with that. Rolling on to the next one then, will the grade reduction still stand? Yes, absolutely. The subject activity strands are designed to help students make informed choice. And for some, that informed choice means that they decide the subject is completely wrong for them and they want to go on and apply for a different one. Or actually they've selected a subject strand that just interests them, but then they've never been sure if actually it was the subject they wanted to go on and study. So yeah, the grade reduction stands across any degree programme, regardless of the subject activity strand that's being taken. And explaining a bit more about scholarships. So I think this was mentioned at the where you're saying about it being mentioned. It was mentioned by some of our student ambassadors at the programme online launch a few weeks ago. So we have a kind of a standing scholarship available to all participants that decide to come and apply and study at the University of Exeter. And that scholarship is attached to a higher set of grades that we ask students to achieve if they get in. So essentially the benefits are kind of they come in 2 ways. Either students go and need the grade reduction, and that's great, that's their benefit. If they manage to achieve the higher grades to get in, then we basically reward them for that, and want to use it as a motivational tool for them to do so, because we know they're all really strong academically, the participants in the programme. So there is a scholarship of £1,500 for the first year of undergraduate studies at the university for those that achieve a higher set of grades. And then we have a kind of wider range of scholarships attached to the programme as well. We're lucky enough to have a really strong relationship with our donor relations team, and we have a huge number of individuals who basically are gifting funds to the university and specifically to our programme and participants of our programme in the form of scholarships. And those tend to change from year to year as to exactly what is available, what the eligibility criteria is. But I'm sure we can share a link in the chat actually to the web page, so you can see some examples of what have been available for the last few years and the impact that they've had on the recipients. Lovely, thanks Hayley.
So yeah, that's there. Please do have a look. So on that page of the website that I've shared the link to, you can see all the current awards. You can hear from past recipients. You can just read a little bit more about the scholarship process. And worth saying, students are automatically considered. They don't have to put in an application. There's no application form, nothing like that. We automatically consider them and we award to those that meet the criteria most closely. So yeah, please do have a look at that in your free time. Next one is back as a question about the offer, the Exeter Scholars offer. So are the students on the programme guaranteed an offer for a place at the university, at Exeter University? Yes, we make all Exeter Scholars students an offer, so long as the course that they're applying for, they actually have any specified subjects. So for example, medicine requires students to be taking an A-level in chemistry and biology, and there's some GCSE requirements, I think English grade, I think it's either a B or a C. So you have to ensure that students have to ensure they actually meet those basic requirements first, because sadly Exeter Scholars can't flex that requirement. But we will make an offer to all students, and it will be the reduced offer that we talked about, the one that's to A-level or equivalent lower, for any course that they apply for at Exeter. And that's every course, including medicine, including law, including all the kind of more vocational ones. So there are no exceptions to that. So I hope that's clear.
Sorry, Hayley, I'm going to just jump in with a very small exception, which is around courses that interview. So it is to participants being successful in that interview. So absolutely right with regards to broader set of courses, but where a course does require an interview, then participants will be assessed in their interview alongside other candidates, and assuming that they do well in an interview and there's a lot of support to help them to do so, then they would be guaranteed an offer for those courses.
I think I'm right in saying they are guaranteed an interview though. So long as they've met the subject requirements, they then get the guaranteed interview, and then as Mel said, they have to kind of pass that stage almost. And with medicine, there's also the UCAT, but for that, it's just they need to have sat that. There's no kind of pass mark, they just need to have sat the UCAT as well, because that's the course requirement generally. But again, closer to the time when applications are happening, so year 13, if you or your young person has got questions or are unsure about their offer, or which course to apply for or anything like that, we always encourage them to keep in touch and ask us. And the other thing we'll do is closer to the time, we'll run a UCAS preparation day. So that's kind of going to be a workshop, August time, where we can support students with things like personal statements, with choosing, I guess, courses, with making the UCAS application. So we do run that as an extra Scholars benefit. So we'd encourage everyone to attend that if they are thinking of applying to university generally, or Exeter specifically. So it's another benefit of the programme, another additional event that we'll put on in August. So I hope that answers that one. Can't see anything else in the chat unless I'm missing. Oh, here we go. When will the assessment at the end of the activity strand be? So I'm hoping that refers to the senior scholar assessment, because there's no kind of formal written exam or anything like that at the end of the subject commitment. We don't assess it in that way. We find that the students gain more from just taking part and learning kind of how you study at higher education, getting that subject content from our academic experts. We don't require them to sit a formal assessment at the end of that strand. But what we do is we've introduced a senior scholar assessment, which will be in January, February time of year 13. And we invite all students who've completed the time commitment of the programme so far and put in an application to Exeter. We invite them all to sit a multiple choice assessment that they can do in their own time over about a 6-week period, and they can go away and research answers. So it's not designed to be something that tricks them, catches them out. It's more to assess their preparedness for higher education. And like we say, they can go away, research answers, they can use a scholar's experience, and then they complete that assessment online, and it's multiple choice. They just need to complete it and pass. And then once they do that, that's what opens up the senior scholar benefits package, which I'll drop a link in the chat to in a minute. But that's the one where they could get access to the scholarships that we've talked about and financial kind of support packages if they come to Exeter. So that's what the assessment's for, and it's more about preparedness for HE and giving them extra benefits if they want to progress to the university. So nothing to worry about, and we always underline that with students, that it's not like a proper formal assessment, nothing like that. It's more a helpful tool to make sure they are prepared and ready for the next bit. So I hope that's helpful. Okay, Mel, if I read this one out, it would be good to have as much notice as possible for the August sessions, so I guess this is summer sessions, in case we're away, will this be face-to-face or virtual? So it's quite similar to the question we had earlier. Mel, do you want to reiterate and answer on that kind of?
Yeah, I mean, I think with the August one, I think it's probably talking about the UCAS prep one, perhaps that you just mentioned in August. Yeah, and yes, we will get the date for that published very soon. Hayley and the team have already got a date penciled in, but we have been waiting to find out a little bit more about any likely restrictions. We've also been waiting to find out about exam results days, or results days, I should say, without the exam part in there. And now we've had the government announcement around that. We're in a better position to be able to firm up that date, so that should come out fairly soon.
Yeah, I would imagine either way we'll try and make, we will try and make resource available. So if it's virtual, we record sessions like we're doing tonight and make them available. If it's face-to-face, which we'll be aiming for August, then we'll make sure we make resources from that session available to anyone that might miss it for any reason, because it is a really helpful session. And the other thing to say on that is that we allow any student on the programme to send in a draft of their personal statement, and we have a specific team who will check them and provide some feedback. So that's open to anyone, regardless of whether they can make the session in August. They could send in a draft of a personal statement for UCAS. We'll have a look at it, provide some feedback and send them back. So that's a really useful service that students really like, because it's someone from the university who knows what admissions are looking for in a statement, and they'll give some really useful advice. So make the most of that, and let your young people know that that's available. Okay, next. Yeah, my daughter struggles organising her time. If she comes to Exeter University, will there be support to help her with this? Mel, do you want to have that one?
Yeah, I can pick that one up, and I think I'll kind of start before when she actually gets to the university, because a huge part of taking part in Exeter Scholars is around developing skills that are useful now, and also with that transition to university if students decide to take it, and skills like time management, organisation, independence, are all things that we look to be able to be upskilling participants in, whether that's from their subject sessions themselves, or even down to remembering when session times are and making sure they find the right Zoom link and all the things that are required for taking part. For us, it's not just the actual sessions themselves, it is everything that is encompassed in taking part in Scholars. And so absolutely, we're used to working with students who perhaps find it challenging to coordinate everything they need to think about at the moment as well as do. When it comes to actually then getting to university, yes, absolutely. We have, for those that come to Exeter, we have support specifically focused on transition and induction, and for helping students signpost to services that can help them with any areas that they know might be a challenge for them. We have specific academic skills professionals at the universities, in fact a whole department for academic skills, which run all sorts of different workshops and sessions for students to help them with the skills that are needed to succeed in their degree programme. And absolutely kind of organisation and time management is critical in that. I'm obviously talking from a University of Exeter perspective, but other universities will do the same. They'll all have a slightly different way of engaging with it, but the principles will be the same. So that support will be there, definitely. But hopefully we can get her a bit more organised and a bit more confident with that before she gets to that stage.
That does, I will pick up on, that comes through our student feedback at the end of programme evaluation. That's a common theme, that students feel that they've gained organisational time management skills. Those are the kind of key themes that always come through, and it's really good to see, because that is one of the aims of the programme, really, to kind of upskill them and prepare them, give them some of those basic skills now, so that when they come to higher education, they're really good at being independent and they cope well with that transition. So I have more questions flooding in. The next one, will all sessions offered also be available to students virtually? So I just maybe want to clarify whether you mean, I guess, when we're talking about perhaps the potential of having face-to-face, whether they'll also be able to do those virtually. Am I understanding that in the correct way? Yes, okay. So I guess no is probably the answer to that one in a short way. So we're having virtual sessions up to June, as we said, and that's because of the pandemic, and we've had to adapt and we've put them on virtually. but we really see the value in them coming to a face-to-face session if at all possible, and getting that opportunity to physically meet the rest of their subject strand and the academics here and seeing the campus. So those sessions, it's unlikely that we'll try and record them and make them available virtually, because there'll be other ways that students could make up the time virtually if they can't attend anything face-to-face for any reason. So what we have got this year is a brand new online platform that we've invested a lot of kind of time and resource and money into, and we'll be hosting some of the session content and little kind of homework activities, further readings, further research up on the online platform, which your students will be receiving a login for in the springtime, so probably April time. So they'll then be able to be doing online things, looking at subject content. We've got the opportunity for them to talk to current students who are here on courses that they're interested in, so they can do that. And these things will credit them if they have to miss a session or make up time. So they shouldn't miss out, but we will encourage when we're doing face-to-face that students try and come if they possibly can and if they're comfortable with doing so, because they'll gain so much from that. So those sessions we won't be replicating virtually. And I hope that's clear and okay. Lovely. Okay, great. Next one, this is a really good one actually, and I can probably answer this because I'm working on this currently. Is there a confirmed date for the Black History sessions, and will students receive a credit for these? So the Black History strand is a new thing that we've introduced this year, and it's an additional opportunity for students to take up some extra kind of, I don't want to say work, but the opportunity to learn something more around the theme and topic of Black History. This will be launching when the platform launches, so April time, spring, and all students will be given access to the Black History course on the online platform, and then it will be optional for them whether they want to work through that course. But the idea is that every month we'll release some more resources to do with Black History, but not just really history, it's more to do with kind of culture today and the relevance in society today. So we'll be releasing more and more resource, and then there'll be an opportunity to partake in a competition over the summer. More will be released about that nearer the time. I don't think we're looking at doing it as a credit, because it's an optional kind of add-on to give students who are interested that option to learn more. But if a student was missing credits for any reason, we could certainly look at their commitment, and if they committed a lot of time to working through the Black History course, then we would be likely to consider being able to kind of credit that attendance in that way. But we wouldn't see it as kind of replacing the subject activity. It's more an add-on extra opportunity that we've added this year. So I hope that's clear. It's exciting, really good new opportunity. Looking forward to launching that on the new platform in the spring. Great.
It might be worth adding just Hayley as well, because Black History Month itself is actually in October. So outside of the Exeter Scholars Programme, we'll also have a whole host of resources, sessions available to take part in that will go more broadly for outside of the Exeter Scholars Programme to the schools that we work with, and complete open access through our social media platforms as well. So it will be the kind of subject strand over the summer available, and then more if that's kind of sparked an interest and the desire to learn more and continue to engage, there'll be even more available through October and beyond.
I'll just pick up this one because it follows on. Do you know when the online portal will go live? Well, we're currently developing and getting it ready to launch. It is a very whizzy platform, which it's amazing. We've had it custom built. So I'm tomorrow going to a meeting with our developers who are in Canada to get it up and running. We've got consultancy going on, but the launch date that we're looking at is the 12th of April. However, don't hold me to that date exactly to get your logins, because it will probably take us a little bit of time to just get those ready. But yeah, I would think by the end of April, we'll be able to get those logins out. So we are looking at spring. We're definitely looking at spring. So very soon, and we'll get logins as soon as possible to your young people. And it's going to be a great resource that we've never had before. It's a really good thing that's come from COVID, that we've been able to enhance our online support and offering. So yeah, we'll encourage everyone to make the most of that when it launches. Lovely. Next, I think our young people have been asked to do some homework off the back of their recent session. Is that correct? And what is the expectation? Do you want to take that one, Mel? Otherwise I can.
I can't 100% answer it without knowing what the subject activity strand is. So it'd be useful to kind of know that on top of, but all of our subject activity strands are slightly different around the kind of encouragement to do some further reading or activity outside of the sessions. I wouldn't be anticipating that there's huge amounts of homework to do. So if it is at a level that's caused any concern, then I would encourage you or the participant to drop a message through to the scholars mailbox, just because we do, Hayley and the team keep a kind of central view to make sure we're being consistent across all subject activity strands on expectations of students. So I wouldn't be wanting to see anybody having a big concern. There should be some, particularly because we're having to do reduced contact with students because it's virtual. We can't spend quite as long covering things as we'd like to in a virtual world as we would do face-to-face. So there may well be a bit more this year than there has been, but there should be a lot of flexibility around it. And I wouldn't want to see anybody having any concerns about workload alongside keeping up and catching up with school studies. So if there is any concern, then do drop us an email.
So I think the guidance we've given our academic college team is that homework can be set, and it can be more of an optional activity to help them prepare for the next session, should they wish, or if a student's particularly interested in a topic, it's kind of a steer for them to go away and do more. So I guess it's a bit like at university where students would have a lecture and then they'd be expected to go away and do a bit of reading around that and get some more knowledge. So introduced homework as kind of a new thing this year, particularly with us being online. And as Mel said, we need to make sure that students are getting that time commitment from us that we promised. So as Mel said, please keep in touch if you think the homework's getting too much, but it should just be a nice kind of optional add-on for them to do a little bit more research or practice a skill that they might have learned in further depth. And yeah, please get the young person to speak to us if they've got concerns around any, time commitment or think it's too much. I can see it's creative writing. You've put the strand, that's really helpful. So I'll check in with our creative writing lead. But yeah, thank you. Okay, great. Anyone brave enough to unmute and ask a question, just because we've done lots of the chat?
Yeah, hi. Thank you so much for putting this event on, and the one that we attended, I think I think it was sort of a month ago now.
Yeah.
My son's on the maths and physics strand, and he actually did want to get onto the chemistry strand, but I think he didn't get his first choice. Now he's been looking at sort of degrees in Exeter around chemistry, and he hasn't, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he's actually been able to identify a chemistry degree appropriate for him. Mm-hmm. So just wondering, in terms of the reduced offer, if he was to apply at another university for an appropriate degree in chemistry, would he be able to take this into another university? And do you envisage that another university might then offer him a reduced offer, or is it only for Exeter? And also the second part of that question is, are there any plans for Exeter University to sort of broaden their chemistry degrees, and how soon is that likely to be?
Okay. Shall I come in first, Mel?
Want me to pick that up, Hayley? Or
actually, shall I start and then you can perhaps add to it if I miss anything, which no doubt I might. So firstly, yeah, we don't offer a chemistry subject strand on Exeter Scholars, and that's because, to my knowledge, you're correct, there isn't a chemistry degree programme currently here, and Mel might have more to say about that around whether it might be possible in the future, so she'll pick that bit up. But I'll answer the bit about recognition from other universities, which is that whilst they're unlikely to make a contextual or reduced offer because it's not, Exeter Scholars is not affiliated with their university. It's obviously for the University of Exeter. What we'd always suggest that the young person writes about the scholars' commitment in their personal statement, their UCAS personal statement, because it does show that they've gone over and above and beyond to kind of get some more subject knowledge, to make informed decisions about their future, and to commit to an academic programme over a period of time. So it'd be worth mentioning, because other universities run similar programmes. So whilst they wouldn't be able to make the reduced offer on an Exeter Scholars hood, they might, they might take it into consideration because of the commitment. Now, do you want to come in and add to?
Yeah, more than happy to. Yeah, it's an interesting answer, actually. Although I hope all my answers are interesting. But we used to have a chemistry department. I'm wondering how many years ago it was now. Must be going back about 10 years, I think. And the university did teach chemistry as a single honours programme, a discipline course in its own right, and the department was closed, but slightly bizarrely we do still have a lot of chemistry academics at the university who do teach chemistry, but they are embedded in other degree programs, so they require you to do a little bit of digging and research into the individual modules contained within the different titled degree programs, which I appreciate is not the easiest way of uncovering some of the content, but it's worth doing. So for example, our natural sciences program has large component parts that are chemistry related, and again it's worth getting down to the kind of module level to see the kinds of modules that are taught, which may well be ticking the boxes in terms of your participants' interest areas, even though they may not be being titled as chemistry. We've also had the biological and medicinal chemistry programme, which again has quite a heavy chemistry component part to it. So it's worth doing a bit more research, and I think that's a bit of a challenge for any student doing research into degree programmes at Exeter or any other university, because it's not quite as simple as the course title does what it actually says in the title, and there can often be an awful lot more to it that needs a bit more kind of research doing, which makes life a bit harder for students, but it's definitely worth doing.
No, thank you very much. I mean, Melissa, is there, do you know, have you heard of plans for Exeter to kind of, broaden their chemistry offer once again, or do you see it as just that kind of, that it will be embedded in other degrees?
As it stands, the only information I've got is that it's a module-based approach to teaching chemistry within wider science-based degree programmes. But that's not to say that that's not something that could be changed. The course portfolio is reviewed on an annual basis, and obviously students who have just joined in year 12 wouldn't be looking at applying it until next year, when there may well be some changes in the programmes available. I wouldn't anticipate that anything would come back around that quickly in terms of reinstatement of a kind of whole subject area, but it's not unheard of. I wouldn't want to say definitively no, but as it stands, I'm not aware of any plans for it to be a programme in its own right.
Okay, no,
I may come back to this recording at some point.
No, that's really helpful. Thank you so much. And if there are any of your colleagues in the chemistry, that are chemistry tutors, perhaps would we be able to make contact with them through the Scholars Programme, just in terms of any other courses they might want to recommend?
It's probably worth, what subject, sorry, I missed which subject activity strand you said he was on.
He's on the maths and physics strand.
So the best thing for him to do when he's taking part in the sessions is look for the opportunity to have a chat with the staff lead for that subject activity strand, and kind of voice an interest in finding out more about certain subject areas. And it may well be that they can look for opportunity within sessions to either find kind of good contacts or give some signposting through there. That's probably the best way to take it forward.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you so much, both of you, for answering those questions.
No problem. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, there is another one in the chat. Is the scholarship programme linked to Falmouth University? So that's an interesting one, and I can see why you've asked that question, because so the University of Exeter has 3 campuses, the main Streatham campus where I am tonight in Exeter, and then the St Luke's campus where our medical school is based, also in Exeter but over in Hertfordshire, and then we have a campus in Penryn in Cornwall, and that's our 3rd campus, and it's a campus that we share with Falmouth University. So Falmouth University students are there, and University of Exeter students are there on the Penryn campus, and the Exeter Scholars Programme is only linked to the University of Exeter students on that campus. So Falmouth University, it just shares a campus, but the benefits of the programme wouldn't give you a reduced offer for Falmouth, for example. I hope that's clear on that one. And then a question specifically about the language strand, which I presume your young person is on, and it's how many units that are required. So I guess you mean how many sessions they need to attend to make the pass criteria. And you can look this up on the website, and I'll put a link in the chat in a minute so you can see how you check. But it says there, I'm looking at it now, and the pass criteria is 5 out of 6 sessions. And you can see there are 6 sessions. Some of the dates are TBC currently, and that's just because of the COVID situation. And obviously, they're the later ones that we'd expect to be happening nearer the summer. So more information will be updated on the website as and when. So we're always encouraging your young people on the programme to be checking their relevant area of the website for their subject strand dates. And our subject coordinators will email them session dates ahead of time so that they can put them in their diaries on their calendars and they know when they are. But so that one needs 5 out of 6. So if, for example, your person can only make 4 because they're sick on one of the sessions, or they've got a commitment at school that they can't get out of, then we let them know how they can make up that missed session in their own time by engaging with an online activity on the platform, for example, or attending another event. Like Melissa's mentioned, that there are other things happening, other events happening, and we always ask students on the programme to let us know if they attend any of those, and usually they could make up a credit for attendance. So it's really important that they get used to keeping in touch with us, particularly if they think they haven't made the attendance that's needed. We do reminder emails at specific points throughout the programme as well. So if we can see students missing sessions and they need to make up time, we usually do send a reminder later in the year. So good if they can keep in touch, good if you can look for other events. And I think Mel has dropped into the chat the link to the page on the website where you can check. So there's drop downs on the right hand side, and you can just go to the subject strand that your young person's on, and then you can have a look at the dates, the content, the entry requirements, and the pass criteria. So it's the 4th tab under pass criteria, and then you can see how many sessions they need to attend. So that's that one. Next question, do you want to take this one, Mel, about the prospectus?
Yeah, yeah, happy to. So normally everyone is busying away to have a hard copy prospectus produced in time for UCAS conventions, which are these wonderful big events that have thousands and thousands of students attending them, and lots of glossy brochures and freebies for students to pick up. And they normally start in March each year. Naturally, they won't be happening this year. Unfortunately, I think there are still some ambitions for UCAS to have some face-to-face later on in the year. Again, that will be a kind of watching brief. With regards to our prospectus and the impact of that, the university has made the decision to not produce a full hard copy prospectus this year. But instead we'll be having an interactive kind of approach to being able to explore our courses and entry requirements on the website. So more than just kind of navigating through the pages on the website, but a more kind of immersive experience for an online prospectus, essentially. We do know, though, that for some students, accessing that information online won't be easy to engage with, particularly for those that struggle with online content for accessibility reasons. So there will be alternative ways, but I can't 100% confirm what that is at the moment. But the short answer is that I'm hoping March, by the end of March, we will see the website updated with the entry requirements for 2022, which I think is the kind of key thing for this cohort of students. So watch this space, and I'm sure once that is updated, we can get that put in an update, one of the electronic updates, to flag that the information's there and live.
That would be useful. I've had a quick look at the website as we were talking, and I can drop a link in, but it's for the year, this year just gone. But if you are ever interested in finding it, you just go to our main Exeter website and you can type in prospectus, and anything digital related to that will pop up. But yes, we'll put a note to put that into a programme update. So when it goes live, we'll make sure everyone on the programme can access it and have a look at the courses. We'll also no doubt talk about it a lot at the UCAS Prep Day. Okay, we have not got long left of the session, 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah, so this is another question I think about session dates. Session 3 is in June, when you're expecting 4, 5, 6 to take place. So I'm not sure what subject strand that relates to, but if it looks like there are slightly less sessions, it's likely more are going to be added online at some point, and we will also have all the content online. So if you're worried with your particular strand that it looks like there are not many sessions, it'd be useful to give us an email so that we can check that with the coordinator for that particular strand, unless you want to drop in film. Okay, I'll have a quick look at that. While I'm doing that, I wonder if Mel wants to pick up the next question. Oh, it's another question I think about the UCAS Prep Day in August and potential holidays. It's good this is being flagged, actually, because we might need to think about how we can record it if it is face-to-face, if it seems like lots of people might be away during that time.
Yeah, and I think that, there always will be. I think the other thing to flag is that the university, when we had to move to virtual delivery, launched the Discover University Facebook page, which has a wide range of live events, activities for students to take part in, mainly information, advice and guidance focused. So whilst we do have an enhanced offering through Exeter Scholars, and that UCAS Preparation Day in August is a great one to attend, if anybody does miss it because of holidays, we'll certainly look to kind of get the resources out through links and various different ways. But I would also anticipate there being some guidance sessions, most likely through Discover University in the early part of year 13 as well. I don't know offhand a timetable for that, but I would be surprised if we don't have something in there to support around UCAS as well. So yes, but I agree, Hayley, I think we need to get the date out for that nice and soon.
Yes, we'll get the date out. I have got one penciled in, so we'll confirm that probably next week. The other thing to flag that's coming next week, so week commencing 1st of March, is a subject-specific briefing sheet for parent and carers. So what this will be, we've asked each college coordinator, so the person that looks after each subject activity strand and runs it, to complete for us an Exeter Scholars subject briefing designed specifically for you as parents and carers. So it's got key information about what your young person will be doing on that subject, what transferable and holistic skills they can gain from doing that. There'll be guidance towards degree programmes that it could open doors to, but not exclusively. So those, again, are new this year, and they're designed specifically for parents and carers, and we'll be emailing those to you next week. So when I do that, I'll also attach the date of the UCAS Prep Day. So do look out, keep an eye on your emails next week. Going back to the person who had the question before about sessions ending, it seemed in June. Film, I've had a quick look. I think that looks like Kat, who runs that strand, is hopeful they may be able to put on more face-to-face sessions after June. But I will confirm with her, and we'll try and update that web page so it's a bit clearer for film, because I agree it's a little unclear as it stands. So I'll go back and make sure that's updated. So yeah, please bear with us on that. Okay. Mel's put the Discover University link in the chat, so that's a really useful resource to have a look at if you haven't already. And we have only got
the other thing to flag on there, oh sorry Hayley, was that we're obviously running these parents and carer Q&A sessions that are specific to Exeter Scholars and can pick up a lot of the specific topics. There are also parent and carer focused events promoted through Discover University, so there's a series of workshops coming up in the next kind of month or also that focus on areas like choosing a course and student finance and various others, which we definitely would like to promote to you and make you aware of. They will all run through Zoom, I think, even though they're promoted through Facebook. So it's worth having a look if you are a social media user, and I'll have a look and see if there's another way we can get that information out for those that aren't, because there will be extra sessions that you can take part in if you'd like to find out a bit more about specific topics.
Right, any further questions at all? I can't see any new ones in the chat, and we are getting towards time, but if anyone's got a last one that they want to unmute and ask, please feel free. Just give you a minute to do so, or to type something if you've got any last burning questions. But yeah, I think it's really good that we've recorded this, so we've got your questions so that we can share these with other parents and carers who weren't able to make the session and might still find the information useful. Oh, thank you, that's nice. Okay. A quick question about on the Discover Uni page, the sessions are all finished. Mel, I assume there must be more coming up. Discover Uni, looks like sessions are finished.
Oh, sorry, I was furiously looking for the form for the and the dates for the parent sessions. They should have the parent sessions, do you mean?
Yeah,
there should still be some parent sessions running. So I can see, gosh, what date are we? 24th. So there's a 10th of March one on student finance for parents and guardians. There's a 17th of March on supporting your child's decision-making process. There's a one on studying a degree apprenticeship on the 18th of March, and then absolutely there will be more scheduled. So it's a very active page. There's new events and activities being added all the time. So it's worth following and keeping an eye on.
Thank you, Mel. It's helpful. And yeah, thanks. Just lots of nice thank you messages in the chat, which is lovely. So I think, well, feel free if you've got anything you want to ask more privately to hang around for a couple of minutes, but otherwise, you're very free to go and enjoy the rest of your evenings. Thank you for attending. I hope it was helpful and useful. We'll make sure we update the parent and carer FAQs page with any themes that have come out of today. Please email anytime. You've got our email address at exeterscholars@exeter.ac.uk. So do email if you have anything else that comes to you after this. And make sure you encourage your young people to do the same. Brilliant. Right, so you are free to leave the call. Thank you so much for joining us.